You said in your mind, you have the best job in the world. What do you think makes it so good? Like, what makes your job better than being like a stockbroker or that stuff?
Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. Let me rephrase that. I love my job, so to me, it's the best job. If you love your job, that's a pretty damn good job. That's a good position to be in. The other thing that I like about my job is I feel, at least I have to tell myself this, that I am potentially having positive impacts. Whereas it's very easy to go into other fields simply to make money. And we also tend to think, like, we're taught from a very young age, I'm sure some of you guys are like aware of this, we're taught from a very young age, you know, you work harder, the harder you work, the more success you have, and the more success you have, the happier you'll be, right? That's kind of what we're taught from a very young age, when in fact our brains work completely the opposite. If we're happy, we work harder and are more successful. But because the thing is if you put like that, if you put your goals, you're always like, I'm going to be happy when. Well, every time you get to that place, you just move the bar of success, right? So you're like, I got good grades, now I'm going to get better grades, or I got a good job, now I got to get a better job. You know, so you basically put happiness over the cognitive horizon, if that makes any sense. And I guess that's why I love my job, and I think it's the best job in the world, is because it requires me to be engaged and fully, like, you know, aware of my surroundings, and just be in it, and also have a positive impact. You know, bring it to, like, this is a huge privilege for me. I think you guys are like, oh, this is my privilege, because I get to bring it to you guys now.
What would you say to those who want to continue down photography as a career?
I mean, photography or any art, honestly, is there's one thing that I always encourage people to do, and it's immerse yourself in the community that you want to be a part of, right? It's very simple. If you want to be a photographer, go to photography workshops. Go listen to photographers speak. You know, make every single effort you can to learn and to sponge up that information, and see how, because there's no path to being a photographer. Right? There's no path to being an artist. We're all artists already. But there's no path to doing that professionally. Everybody follows a different one. The only way that you can get there is by following your instincts, but also observing and really appreciating how everybody else got to that point. So, like, you want to be a photographer? Go take workshops. Go listen to people speak. You know, look at websites. I mean, seriously, dork out on photography. Just geek out on it, and you will find yourself, A, growing as a photographer, and as that happens, finding more and more success and also opportunity. Yes?
Do you ever feel frustrated or discouraged by the fact that climate change is still going on, and in some cases change is happening quite slowly in the world as you're exposed to so many?
It makes me so angry. I'm so frustrated by it. And I don't know if I said it in the actual assembly or not, but people constantly ask, like, so you believe in climate change? And I say, no, I don't. I don't believe in climate change. Just like I don't believe in gravity. It's just a thing that exists. It's a scientific fact. It's not something that's debatable anymore. And, you know, the problem is politics get mixed up in this, and we start to think that, you know, policy is somehow trumping science, and that just isn't the fact. Like, this is happening, and I try not to be an outspoken, you know, activist or too hardcore on it. But it's like, you know, it's like evolution. I hate to say it. I mean, evolution is a thing. It's not a theory. And people are like, it's still a theory. There's still blind faith, and you're like, no, the fossil record is. Biology doesn't work without evolution. Evolution doesn't work without biology. You know, it's like, so I get fired up about it. Yes, obviously. I have a hard time with that. But the only thing we can do is just keep going and providing information and showing people that it's happening and keep presenting the facts. There was a beautiful film made by this guy named Jim Baylog. It was called Chasing Ice. Did you guys hear about this? You should check it out. It's really cool. He came up with this idea that one of the only ways that we could show people that glaciers worldwide are actually melting, because they melt so slow, was to put time-lapse cameras up that would shoot pictures every day, every hour for the daylight over like 6 years, right? And then you can look at how fast these glaciers are deflating and dying and receding. And only with that kind of empirical proof and evidence can people be like, oh, now I get it. But the problem with that is that I'm really going off on this one. The problem with that is that he made it political. And I don't believe in making these things political. Because when you do that, you alienate half the people that you're trying to reach. In fact, the most important people that you're trying to reach. If you make it about you did this, even if you've got all the evidence in the world, those people are like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So it's very important to just bring people evidence and not make it their fault. That's what I try to do anyway.
Like, do you have like something that you would like to eat to help you feel better, like just a song that helps you get over it?
You know what I like to do is I listen to music all the time. I also, this sounds a little new agey, so just bear with me. But I meditate. I'll sit in my tent for 10 minutes, 20 minutes in the morning and just like think about breathing. Like I'll always, because your brain gets so fired up, it's just like always going, you know, you're always hearing a voice in your head, it's always talking to you like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. So when I get to that emotional breaking point, I'll make sure that I'm sitting down and like, my brain will just go crazy, and then every time I exhale, I try to just bring it back to that. And it's a really powerful coping mechanism. I've learned I have to do it, essentially.
Sorry, how does National Geographic pick which photos of yours they use in their articles? Do you have a say in what photos they use, or is it mostly, we just want these pictures and you don't get it?
No, it's definitely open for debate, but, you know, I answered this question earlier. It wasn't the same question, but the way it works is you bring all your photos back and you give them to your photo editor, and her eyes start to bleed, or his eyes start to bleed as they go through the thousands and thousands and thousands of photos. But I'm fairly, this is, you know, not every photographer has this. Some photographers are just far more talented at taking perfect pictures. I'm really good at picking the pictures that I've taken. I'm good at editing my own work. And it's always a debate, you know, you're always like, it's a tug of war with your editor. But usually for me, I know these are the 200 that are going to have any, you know, these are the 200 that might work. And then you narrow it down to 60, and then you kind of have an argument, does this carry the story or does this carry the story? And then you narrow it down to 50, and then you kind of like have the argument again, does this and then you're down at like 35 to 45 pictures, which is what you show the entire National Geographic Society. You present that to all the figureheads of all the departments, and they all come in. It's called your final show. And the chief editor of the magazine is there, the director of photography. Like, it's incredibly high stress. And every time I do that, I'm like, this is the time they figure out I'm a fraud. This is it. Like, I'm done. I'm fired. And it's, you know, my photo editor, her goal on every trip is to find the one photo that I missed. So that's like our little game. She's like, I'm going to find the one that you didn't see. So, yeah.
Do you sit with your photo editor, and if not, do you go through all your photos yourself, or do you let her choose the best one for them?
I mean, I'm constantly going through them the whole trip. So after, like, especially, there's this magic thing that happens when you know you got a great photograph. Like, you're just like, I know it, I got it. And then you can go back and just like, you know, you pick it out and you put it in your edited folder, and, you know, you mark that. And I don't sit with Sadie the whole time. It would just be, because they have to, well, they don't have to, but they do, they pay you to come out. So it would be a waste of time for me to sit with her for 2 weeks as she thumbs through images. I mean, both of our eyes would bleed, and we'd probably end up hating each other, you know, just, so it's a long process, so it's not financially really viable to bring us out for the whole process. So, yes.
Do you have an Instagram page like your TV where you just like post pictures of your trips?
Yeah, it's just at Cory Richards, Cory. Yeah, I expect all of you to follow me.